So welcome back to the Alpha Artist Podcast, official podcast of digital and creative media works, where each week we take something from pop culture and try to break it down to better understand it. My name is David.
My name is Ben.
What?
I don't know.
My name is Ben.
My name is Ben. My name is Ben.
You were like a really bashful kind of, you were like, my name is Ben. I don't want to talk about it.
Ben.
Then this month we're making a mockery of all things scary because it is horror month, but instead of actually doing horror things, we're just talking about things that are vaguely related.
Yeah, we're not doing horror.
If anyone thought that was going to happen, why would we subject ourselves to an experience where bad things happen to other people and it's unpleasant to watch?
We've seen Alien Covenant.
We played Alien Isolation.
We've watched it. It was great. I loved it, but no more horror.
I wouldn't call it a horror.
No, it is like a family-friendly comedy film.
Yeah, exactly. Well, why not?
It's a Strangest Things movie.
It's a Stranger Things movie. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this week, Ben, we are talking about all things Doctor Who because we are talking about the horror of Doctor Who Season 11, Episode 1.
Specifically, just that one.
The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Well, because that one's the one that's out.
Yeah.
It was the first episode of Season 11. It's just come out. It was released October 7th, 2018, written by Chris Chibnall and directed by Jamie Childs.
It's a good one.
I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I was expecting to hate it.
I was there. I have my reservations, but overall, I think it's really good. And the reservations are just minor things.
Why don't you explain briefly while I fix something that I've just seen? What your experience is with like your history with Doctor Who? Because we've got kind of a complicated history. Yeah.
So I hated Doctor Who. Well, I didn't hate it. I just never engaged with Doctor Who for a good, most of my life. I only watched I saw the Empty Children when I was like 12, and it scared the shit out of me. Empty Child, yeah, and that scared the shit out of me, and I never went back. And
that scares the shit out of me as a grown up.
And I sort of avoided Doctor Who in like high school, mainly just through sort of a weird toxic masculinity of not wanting to watch a show with Matt Smith in it because I was. I don't know.
What was your like?
I knew a lot of people who really enjoyed it.
Oh, and you were like, I'm too cool.
And I was
for
like,
that.
I'm too cool for that.
Wow.
Wow. But only
past Ben was
only recently did I actually watched it. The reboot, I guess. What do you call it? Just the current. The
current one's kind of a reboot. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reboot series, and I got up to season 9, and then we stopped.
Season 9's really bad.
Yeah, we just kind of fizzled that. But I got most of it. We got like halfway through Capaldi, and then we've done everything else.
You got the good stuff. You got Matt Smith and David Tennant.
We got all the Matt Smith, David Tennant, David Eccleston. Love him.
I love David Eccleston. I love Christopher Eccleston. He's great.
Was I saying?
You said no. You got it right.
Eccleston.
You got the last thing you said.
Eccleston.
Yeah, you said Christopher Eccleston the first time. Then you said David Eccleston.
Oh,
and my brain stopped working.
Chris Tennant, David Eccleston. Yeah.
Yeah. They're all white kind of English Scottish dudes. So let's quickly get the summary out of the way because not a lot happens in this episode, which is a good thing, which we'll get to. My thoughts on this were like, Chris Chibnall has done a lot of really good writing on Torchwood and places like that.
I haven't seen Torchwood.
But he's done a lot of really bad writing on places like Torchwood and things like that. So I kind of go up in the air depending on like, he's one of those guys, I've never seen him run a show poorly. I've seen him write bad episodes. So I was expecting maybe a good show, like season, but maybe like bad episodes.
If he's just the opposite, if he writes bad episodes, he might be a good showrunner. If he's just the opposite of Moffat, who writes really good episodes but is a horrible showrunner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, like, why they don't. This baffles me. Why they don't get just a showrunner who isn't a writer to run the show, like Kevin Feige runs Marvel.
Right.
Like, just get a guy whose job is to keep the show not shithouse, and then fill in the writing stuff with people who actually want to do it, like Neil Gaiman and Chris Chibnall, people like that.
Yeah.
It's bizarre to me. But let's do the summary, and then we'll dive into a bit of the kind of reaction that people have had to it, and then some analysis and kind of pick apart what it means for culture now that there is a woman as this character.
Yeah.
So we open in Sheffield, where Ryan Sinclair accidentally summons an alien pod to Earth, leading to a strange interaction with the police officer Yasmin, who turns out to be someone he's gone to school with. Meanwhile, Ryan's grandmother Grace and her new husband Graham are attacked by a strange electrical being on a train after leaving Ryan. Ryan and Yasmin arrive at the train to stop the creature when the newly regenerated doctor falls out of the sky and the creature flees, not before implanting strange devices in everyone's necks. The five investigate the incident using their own unique connections and skills, while the Doctor learns that the devices that were implanted into each of them are biological bombs. The Doctor realizes her TARDIS is lost. The Doctor and the gang learn that a second alien is tracking a local construction worker as a hunting game. The Doctor forges a new sonic screwdriver from human technology.
Not entirely human.
Well, like human-ish.
She uses
Elements.
one of the gems
The
from the pod.
Yeah, and the teleporters and stuff. The Doctor tracks the alien to a construction site, and with everyone's help, the Doctor works out that the hunter is cheating a test to prove his own hunting prowess, and that the electrical alien device is a sort of improvised tracking tool, and he shouldn't be using it, it's cheating. The Doctor confronts the hunter, and, by threatening the destruction of their only way home, causes the alien to flee. In the process of the confrontation, Grace falls to her death. After Grace's funeral, the Doctor converts one of the alien's escape teleports to locate the TARDIS. After bidding goodbye to Ryan, Yaz, and Graham, the Doctor accidentally teleports all four of them into deep space. End credit.
So, can we just start with that ending? Because that is the most wild...
It's fucking funny.
I don't think any Doctor Who episode has just ended on such a wild cliffhanger. Like, you know, we've had cliffhangers before, sure, but they've always been cliffhangers with context where you're like, oh no, I'm worried about this character, or oh no, this whole thread is unraveling. I'm worried about this specific thing that has been built up over like 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But this is just like,
What the fuck?
They're in space now.
The only
Okay.
The only it's fucking great. The only comparable twist is when it was David Tennant's Doctor and Donna just turns up in the TARDIS in a wedding dress.
But even then, that's...
But like, it's a similar twist where it's like he's in deep space and it just cuts to credits. You're like, what?
Yeah,
the fuck?
I'd say that's similar, but even then, that's still like... That's not as just... You know, that's like, oh, it's a woman in the TARDIS wearing a wedding dress. How kooky and weird. This is just like, no, they're just in space now. Like, it's so just like... it's just like rocks fall.
I think it's because it's quick. It's like bang, and you go, wait, what? Oh.
Yeah,
it's
you're
very
like,
much like, oh, shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I would have... I just remembered how fucking good it is. My brain was like replaying that moment where she like... Because it's like really cool, and you're like... What I was expecting was she would be about to do it and then be like, hey, wait, do you want to come with me? But instead it's just like bang, and then
well, I mean, you know,
space.
when it's happening, what I thought was going to happen is she was going to like do the teleporter and just like appear right where she was, like the joke being the TARDIS is on Earth.
Yeah.
And it's just like, because she was like,
Oh,
all right,
that'd be
this is
fun.
going to take me to the planet where the TARDIS is, and she does it,
That'd
and
be
it sparks
funny.
everywhere, and then she's just like, oh, I guess it's on Earth.
Yeah.
And then they go off and do their adventures.
That'd be fun.
But this is just like, woo! See you later.
So good. It's so good. I love that so much. What a good... Like, there's something that I noticed in this episode versus a lot of Moffat's work in comparison is the jokes in this, like, Moffat's jokes tend to be like, they get he spins up the joke, the punchline happens, and there's a cue in the show to let you know that was a joke. There was a few jokes in this that were only funny if you have a dry English sense of humor. Like, they weren't jokey jokes. Like, there was one moment where they're all walking to the construction site, and Graham is just talking about Ryan in this, like, stream of consciousness in the way that, like, parents do, where they just list off a bunch of things about their kid and how disappointed they are in them.
Right.
Whereas, like, Ryan's this old and he's got this disability, and it shouldn't stop him from getting a job, though. I tell you that much, bloody. But he doesn't stop him getting a degree. I tell you what, bloody, that kid. Tell you what. And it was the fun. Like, I chuckled to myself because it was so underwritten and realistic that I was like, oh, maybe this show's gonna be good.
Well, even just like, you know, when they're on the when they're in the crane and they were like, how do we drive a crane? He's just like, let me just Google it.
Yeah.
Like, you're like a normal human
It makes
being.
sense. Yeah, everyone behaves like people.
Yeah, and he's like, here, I found a YouTube video on how to drive a crane.
great, yeah.
Just watch it real quick.
Because of course you would.
Yeah,
In
exactly.
that situation. It's interesting to me. We'll touch on the performances in a bit, but there's some stuff in this that unfortunately Chibnall's had to include because Moffat's kind of shoehorned it into the mythos. So, like, for instance, regeneration now makes the Doctor really weird and, like, forgetful. It's very strange.
Well, that was like a...
Well, he made that with Capaldi,
Yeah.
where Peter Capaldi's Doctor wakes up and he doesn't know who he is. He's just an angry old dude.
Yeah, whereas
But that was
like
because
Tennant to Matt Smith is very like... He gets it over and done with within like the 10 seconds of him regenerating.
He's just there. And
He's just like, okay, new nose, new ears, all right, let's go.
But and he's like recalibrating the whole episode, his personality, but like he knows who he is.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like I don't know, it was weird. Like it didn't work when Peter Capaldi regenerated. I thought it was like that episode, especially in comparison, which is a great comparison because it's the most recent first Doctor entrance we have. I think the reason they do that is that it gives the actor an episode to find their feet. And people's criticism can be kind of waved away by that mythology, where people are like, I don't like this new Doctor, it's too goofy. And it's like, oh no, that's just him. He's regenerating.
Yeah, well,
because that was a lot of people's problem with Matt
I
Smith.
thought a lot of the writing for this Doctor and even some of the performance was very Tennant-esque.
It reminded me a lot.
And I mean, obviously, of course, it's Tennant-esque because they're all the same character, so they're all written in a similar way. But I think
it doesn't work. We've talked about this. It doesn't work with Capaldi though. That style.
Well, he's very different. That's the thing. Capaldi, like you go from like Tennant. Okay, so like Eccleston to Tennant is like pretty. That's just like he gets prettier, you know,
and a bit less
and a bit
northern.
sadder.
Yeah.
And you go from Tennant to Matt Smith, and it's just he gets happier, I guess. And ginger. He's ginger.
He's not really.
He's not really
ginger.
ginger.
He's a tiny.
He's
bit
not really ginger.
When Matt Smith grows a beard, he's ginger. So I think that makes his soul a ginger.
Right. Okay.
That's the way that works.
But like Matt Smith to Capaldi is like probably like at that point was like the biggest jump because it's like, oh, now he's old.
Well, it's the biggest age jump.
It's the biggest age jump. Probably the biggest like geographic jump if we're sort of assuming that him as a Time Lord is British, which that's the joke. Is that
but then
a lot of countries have a north.
Eccleston,
a lot of planets. have a
well,
north.
I mean, Eccleston's Doctor was from the north. He had a Scottish accent. But do you think though? Because I know exactly what you're saying, but I love like because you don't have like you're not embedded in the show like I've been since I was like a kid, right? Because like my parents were English.
I've just binged it. Yeah, basically.
Like, there's an element of a show to me that Capaldi's Doctor never worked for me. Not because like he's a great actor, but the reason the reason that it never felt right is because Moffat still wanted him to be a bit like Matt
goofy.
Smith.
Yeah,
and it the reason it didn't work is that when Russ T Davies put together the Ninth Doctor, he was like this. Christopher Eccleston.
Okay.
He was like dark. Like,
oh yeah,
like
he's the War Doctor. No, he's not the War Doctor.
But he's like the one right after, where he's like trying to bury that, and he's like full of anger and hatred, and they tried like Moffat wanted that with Capaldi, where there was he even has an episode that tries to mirror a Dalek episode from T Davies' run, where in T Davies' run, it's the episode just called Dalek, and that's where the Doctor first rediscovers there's like a Dalek buried deep underground, and he has to confront his own hatred. And by the end of the episode,
that's an Eccleston episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's where it's like chained up.
Yeah, that's exactly
and it's
it.
Just like
and it's
reactive. Is that the
you
you would make a good Dalek
yes,
line?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Peter in Peter Capaldi's run, Moffat reuses the same line in a similar episode where instead of that setup, which is where it's like buried underground, they go inside a Dalek. So they miniaturize and they go inside the Dalek, and it uses the same line where it's really it doesn't
really weird.
It doesn't work because. The reason that episode works in the original run is that Doctor's characterization was this hatred kind of buried in this like dry wit, where it was like he was clearly full of anger and rage, but it was like layered within this charm and this charisma, so you kind of get lulled into forgetting that he's this kind of raving madman.
Bit of a wild,
he's
wild cannon.
And he's forced to change, right? So like at the end of the episode, he's forced to confront that hatred, and he changes in that episode. My problem with the one with Capaldi, by comparison, and similar to this with Capaldi's opening, is by the end of that episode, all they do is prove that Daleks have a switch in them that turns off their emotion. It doesn't actually force the Doctor to change in any way.
Right, yeah.
The episode cuts to credits before we see the Doctor have to make a change about himself. So I think very much in the same way that when Capaldi's entrance happens, like, you know, he forgets kind of who he is, but his friends are still there. So the lizard lady, whose name I can never remember, and her lesbian British wife.
Right, yeah. And and what's her name? Like probably the biggest part of
Clara.
Like the biggest.
Well, okay, so Clara's like one of the better companions. I think.
But in terms of like that's like apart from Rose, she's the only companion that goes from one regeneration to another. Like all the others, like end of that's Eccleston to Tennant. But Rose is sort of consistent.
I agree, but I would argue that Clara's only in 5 episodes with Matt Smith, so I don't know that it's the same as like because like Amy and Rory have the longest consecutive.
They do, but
episodes.
they do replace Amy and Rory with Clara at the end.
I know.
So well, they do. No,
I agree. Yes. Yeah.
Whereas this, they've just
was a hard reset.
Yeah, it's
because he wanted to completely wipe the slate and go, "This is new," and that's why I think the stakes work as well. Like, you know, say for instance in that Capaldi first episode, he's saving London from a dinosaur. It's a T-Rex, right? Mm. That's the whole of London City, and then it turns out to be that it's actually not a dinosaur, and it's these clockwork men that are going to take over the world in their flying cafe or whatever, which is the most Moffat sentence ever. Whereas in this, it's literally they're saving one person.
Right.
In this episode, they save one person's life, And that's when I realized what the plot was. When the creature comes out of the pod, and it's just
Alien versus
and it's
Predator.
just Alien versus this fucking it's prey, right? I was like, oh, maybe he gets it. Like, and I was waiting for Chibnall to blow it and be like, and it's the fate of the world, but it was just one dude. And the fucking, can we talk about so first of all, the teeth in the face is creepy as fuck.
Oh my fucking god.
That's some dark shit.
Talk about opening with just one of the fucking most creepy. So are they the Ice Warrior? Is he an
They're
Ice
not,
Warrior?
but they're similar.
I was gonna say they're
They're
very
similar
Yeah,
ancestry.
yeah.
We've seen variations of them previously as well.
Yeah, I mean, even just from the perspective of it's like, you know, apparently there's like sort of reports that there's not going to be any Daleks in this season, which is like, I'm behind that. Because I think Daleks,
I think that would work.
Daleks are the ace in the hole. Daleks, you gotta hold off the Daleks. Like,
Unless you're
in
Moffat
the-
and you make them all weird, bright colors.
well, yeah, in the sort of earlier seasons, the Daleks were very like, they would come and you'd be like, yeah, Daleks. Like, I love Daleks so
Right.
much.
But after you've seen a Dalek, you've seen a
the-
Dalek.
Well, it's like you get one a season, and it was like cool, all right, you know, you get one a season, but then like later on, it would just be like, if there's a world, it's a Dalek thing. You're like, all right, okay, whatever.
Well, like that last episode with Capaldi was agonizingly bad. I don't know if you watched that.
No,
where
I
he's
didn't
like,
get into it. Then.
Like he fucking reused that concept. You know the Dalek that we talked about that they go inside of? That Dalek is in that episode for some
okay.
reason. And he's the greatest computer in the world because he's been alive forever. Like
Right.
shit like that where like it's Moffat calling back to stuff for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Like everyone in Moffat's universe had to be connected to someone else.
Well,
Like
like,
everyone was a descendant of the Lethbridge Stewarts and everyone was from a different episode. Instead of like what works, which is referencing material that you don't see. So like Moffat's biggest writing trick in those early episodes, like The Empty Child, was referencing things the Doctor had done that we'd never see.
Right.
So there's a point where Captain Jack pulls out a blaster or something. And, you know, Doctor's like, oh, that's a blaster from XYZ place. And he goes, yeah, last one, the plant got blown up and was replaced by a banana field or whatever. And the Doctor's like, yeah, I went there once. And he goes, oh, well, you know, it's destroyed now. And he goes, yeah, I went there once. Love a good banana. And then at the end of the episode, there's a payoff where the Doctor switches the gun with the banana.
Yeah.
So like little things like that where it's for the sake of the episode, not for the sake of like this crazy world building where everything's connected. It's like, how do you write a good episode? This felt like that with the tooth thing. I don't think that's going to come up again. I fucking hope it doesn't come up again. This is creepy and
No, I don't
weird.
want
And the
that
whole
shit.
time I was like, what are they using teeth to like build a gun? Or like, I was like, what are they doing?
Build a tooth
it's-
machine.
But it's like an ornament. It's ornamental. It's
teeth
fucked up
for
and
the
creepy.
teeth god, you know.
The teeth god. The tooth god.
Yeah.
The tooth
For
fairy.
the tooth fairy.
Yeah.
I guess teeth for the tooth fairy.
Yeah, I really liked that they didn't like that he didn't go, oh yeah, and the teeth were for this. It's just like, no, it's a trophy thing, which is fucked
Yeah.
up and weird. Did you? Okay, so the
And
TARDIS.
every shot of the teeth guy is gonna be real fucking close and at like a Dutch angle.
I'm glad that he
'cause-
put his mask back on.
yeah.
When he did, I was like, yeah,
I was
good.
like, all right, cool, thanks.
What did you think of no TARDIS?
So I was like,
No TARDIS in this episode at all.
I mean, they've done episodes with no TARDISes, and I enjoy those episodes generally.
Midnight, one
I
of
mean,
the best. Yeah.
Yeah, like most episodes are, you know, TARDIS in, don't TARDIS for a while, TARDIS out, or TARDIS in, TARDIS gets stolen, whatever. We have to
Right, but regens always they show you the new TARDIS, the new interior.
I think, I don't know, like I feel like it would have, maybe because they were like, you know, okay, female Doctor, it's a bit of a big change, like we're doing, like they didn't want to sort of, maybe they wanted to give it more space to the to
So
just the
everyone can
actor.
adjust to
Because it's like, not only is it new Doctor, it's like, yeah, again, female Doctor.
New companions.
New yeah, like completely new companions, like even just a new city, like being in Sheffield as opposed to fucking, I don't know, the other places.
Well, always London. It's always London.
Well, London, and then a bit in, where's the Torchwood place? Cardiff.
Cardiff.
Yeah, so
Cardiff
it's like
Bay.
London, Cardiff. So it's like, okay, new place.
Yeah.
Fucking scenery is beautiful.
Dude, Sheffield, like, I was watching it with my mom, and
Yeah.
she's from England, and she went, yeah, it does actually look like that, but it's normally raining. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
And I think, and even like the sonic screwdriver is like fucking weird. Like it's so different in this one compared to previous ones. It's very,
I mean,
I don't know,
that was
organic
what
and
that was what Moffat did with Matt Smith's Sonic, where he made it so different that it like felt
like so different, sure, but like still the same aesthetic.
the new one
right?
looks like Count Dooku's lightsaber hilt.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
it's completely night day. It's, well, I don't know. It's the female version of
Dude,
the Sonic screwdriver, right? Like it's It's the same, but it's so different. I guess I'm not the first person to say that, but
one of the
it is a characterization. It's curved, right?
One of the criticisms is that it's built for comfort, and more so than that, it's a device. So previously, the Sonic is a psychic device where it's equal parts mechanical and telepathic.
Sure.
Where, so for instance, there are settings on it, so you change the setting and it changes the way it works. So it's like red settings, which was a plot point for a while. But you generally think about what you want to do and it does it. So for instance, when Clara uses it, she's a great example because she's one of the companions that is allowed to have access to all of the utensils.
And she did use it, and she's just sort of thinking about it.
Yeah, she thinks lock this door, or open this lock, whatever. Whereas with the new one, whenever the Doctor's using it for reading, she's reading something on the device, which,
as opposed to just looking at it.
Here's the thing. There's a joke in the 50th anniversary Doctor Who episode, which is where the War Doctor's in it, and it's David Tennant and Matt Smith in it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best episodes of the show of all time, I think. There's a joke in that where they anytime they get back into a corner, David Tennant and Matt Smith pull out the sonic screwdrivers and they kind of wave them around.
Yeah.
Like their weapon. They're kind of going to fence someone with it. And I think what they're trying to do is take the Sonic away from being what it was, which was this kind of this utensil.
It was a wand, right?
Right.
It was a wizard's wand.
But Moffat's solution wasn't reinvent the tool, it was put it in sunglasses.
What?
Wait, did you not get up to that?
No, I didn't get up to
He had Sonic sunglasses for the last 2 seasons.
I might have just been on the cusp
he was
of Sonic
a cool
sunglasses.
Dad. He was a cool dad, so he had Sonic glasses or whatever.
I think
he called them Sonic shades.
I think I just got up to it, but I think that was about where we tapped out. But I do vaguely
That's about the
it.
point where that's the episode where he's wearing his Sonic sunglasses, and what's he doing? He's riding a tank, playing an electric guitar, playing Red Hot Chili Peppers in the 1700s. That's an episode opening. That was at that point Moffat just lost his mind. Yeah. But that's a good example of clearly Chibnall's gone, I'm going to make this thing my own. How do I do that? Okay, well, and she even says it's more of a Sonic Swiss Army knife, which is cute. But one of the criticisms is oh, well, a woman needs to pack all this stuff with her. She can't improvise. It's like, oh, fuck. There's nothing.
What?
There's nothing. Yes, don't. Whatever you do, if you're listening to this now, don't Google reviews for this from mainstream right leaning or just
right leaning,
not even right wing just the parts of the internet that have decided that everything about that's bad is related to the fact that she's a woman.
Well, I mean we kick the table. Let's start talking about that because so when I pitched this episode, I was just like, we're gonna do Doctor Who and the horrors of having a male fan base. That was the pitch.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that. Let's dive into the politically fueled, landmine infested terrain that is the new Doctor is female. So David,
I'm going to break it down for you based on the research. What do you think
about the fact that the new Doctor is female?
Well, first of all, I think Jodie Whittaker is fantastic in this role. Yes. I think she picking someone with a different accent was really key, I think, because Matt Smith was very much Middle England, and he sounds like he's everybody, right?
Right.
Matt Smith sounds like everyone. David Tennant sounds like David Tennant.
Yeah.
Peter Capaldi sounds like an old dude.
He's Scottish.
He sounds like an old Scottish dude.
Yeah.
Whittaker
has a very, very interesting accent. To the point where I don't know what it is.
She's got, look.
Is it Welsh?
It's northern. It's something you'd hear on Geordie Shore.
Right, yeah.
But a bit more mature. Posh, and like the upper class version of that, which I like. But one of the biggest criticisms that I've noticed, so I did this so you didn't have to, is I read through a lot of the very aggressive.
They're hit pieces. What else are they?
The articles that were attacking the show because she's a woman.
Sure.
And there are two versions of the main argument. One of them is that it's bad because the character is one thing and changing it doesn't make any sense. It's just pandering to LGBTIQ. I kind of ignore that because that's not news, right?
Yeah, okay.
The other one I found interesting is people who'd watched the episode said that it wasn't progress, which I'm curious about because
I want to briefly hit that first one. So the whole idea of it's pandering, therefore it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Or just the idea of something can be pandering.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't
Like
make any
it's
sense.
yeah, like
Sometimes-
so the reason we're skipping over that argument is not because we're not sort of addressing it. It's because it's a very common thing that comes out. It's
Yeah.
been touched so many times. We've talked about it previous episodes.
It's if you want to kind of review that concept, we talk about it a lot when we discuss like horseshoe politics and that problem of like anytime that you say, oh, well, you shouldn't do that because it's pandering, and someone says, oh, well, you should do this, and like everything eventually meets in the same place where it's just different versions of extremism.
Yeah.
Write characters that are good and believable and fun to spend
Yeah.
time with, and this episode does that with Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, I think. I was more enwrapped with her performance than I was with Peter Capaldi, and I liked Peter Capaldi from other stuff beforehand.
And also,
You know?
there's two sides of the representation coin. There's pure representation where a character on screen is, represents you as a person, or as, you are able to associate closely with them. But on the other side of that same coin is the perspective where you're able to experience, a story through someone else's eyes that you normally wouldn't. We're able to have some Doctor Who adventures with a female Doctor like that.
Yeah,
it's new, it's different. It's more cool
It's
stuff.
just-
Like it doesn't.
It's cool. It's cool. Other sci-fi shit. It doesn't. You're right. It doesn't change what happened before.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. Is when people go, "Oh, they're rebooting this," but it doesn't change what you had. The thing you had's still there. So the other argument, because like I don't think that that's worth us spending time on because we've retreaded that like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
The other one that I'm interested in is people are criticizing her performance as being too much like Matt Smith and David Tennant, like an amalgam of the two.
I mean, anything after Capaldi is gonna feel.
But like, yeah, she doesn't write the episodes.
And also,
She's being directed.
she's the same person. Like, it's a weird thing with Doctor Who because they are the same person. This isn't like, if they released a new Harry. Well, this isn't like, if the newest Harry Potter Creatures Fantastic Beasts film just had an entire cast of different characters who are all female, but like completely different characters. This is like, it's kind of weird with Doctor Who because it's meant to be the same character with the same memories.
But
And
that's the argument that people like the left extreme are making is like just write a show with a good female lead. Don't recast a traditional male character as female. But it's not. He's not a male character. He's a fucking alien. Like he's got two hearts and he like.
Well, it's like why can't it be a female? Like it's
an alien. It doesn't experience gender in the same way that we do.
That sort of way of thinking assumes that the kind of adventures that the Doctor gets up to is exclusively male,
Or is
like,
at least in some way like related to his gender.
yeah. Like why should that be the case?
Yes.
Like what's wrong with
Which that speaks to
because that assumes a male coding of sci-fi adventures, which
Yes.
isn't that. Is that what we're trying to get away from?
So
it's like that's what this does. This recontextualizes this kind of bombastic sci-fi adventure as being both male and female. It's not coded gender anymore.
That's exactly the point. That's exactly the fucking point. It's not that the criticism that you can recast someone a different gender and that like sure, but actually what it's doing is it's breaking down the coding barriers that you have around different things. It's like when you read like Lord of the Rings and the orcs are clearly kind of coded to be like kind of these Moroccan savage creatures and they're even described as, it's like, yeah, we've moved past that. Now bad guys just look like everybody. They could be anyone,
Mostly British.
They're very, because people realize British people have very sinister accents. David Tennant, I'm looking at you when you do that creepy thing in Jessica Jones. Woof, boy. But he's playing the demon in Good Omens, the TV show, and I'm so excited. But no, that's totally it. It's about changing the way that we...
He's the bad guy in Final Space.
He's good in everything.
He is, yeah.
And he's also in the new Rooster Teeth anime as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's in everything.
He's just doing things.
I think after Doctor Who, he just went, I'm just do what I want.
Just do voice.
Yeah. But no, so I think you're right. Like it's about taking that coding and doing something different with it, and then by that token, then the coding of the role is not related to the things it used to be. One of the other criticisms is like that they didn't put her in the TARDIS, and the reason they didn't do that, and I'm kind of with you. I think they wanted to give people an adjustment period.
Give it some space.
Some people, which I don't think they're wrong, but I disagree generally. The other criticism is like Chris Chibnall's writing style works on Torchwood because they're in Cardiff. It's one place. Torchwood does a very specific set of things They're in Cardiff where the rift, because I don't know if you remember this, but for those of you who don't recall, in Cardiff there's like a big space-time rift where the Doctor fuels
Recharges the TARDIS.
fuels their TARDIS. I got to try and get the pronouns right. There's a woman where the Doctor fuels their TARDIS on that rift, and that's alien creatures come through. And so Torchwood Institute is set up in Cardiff Bay to then deal with the dregs that come through that rift. One of the reasons that
it's like a Monster of the Week kind of show.
It's exactly that. It's a procedural crime drama, but there's fucking aliens. Like, it's really good. Chris Chibnall also did the episode with a Cyberwoman, but she was sexy.
Cool.
So he's problematic sometimes. But also Torchwood has some of the best representation of any British television of all time. So I go back and forth on the whole issue. But my point was going to be, one of the criticisms of him not putting the TARDIS in is he might be really afraid to give the character the freedom to go anywhere. And the only reason I say that, and I don't agree with it, but it was one of the prevailing things I found online. And I can kind of explain, I kind of tried to break, it was really hard to pass, but I can break it down and you can tell me why it's wrong or right if you want, or what you think of it. But the idea was that Torchwood was dark and subtle because everyone was in this small space and it was like a story within a bottle. Like they were in Cardiff trying to fix Cardiff problems.
It's like the Star Trek Deep Space Nine thing.
Yeah.
Where you're just isolated. Yeah.
It's alien.
Stuck. Yeah.
You're on the ship, you can't get out.
Yeah.
There's one problem. One of the things that we haven't seen Chibnall do a lot is write these stories that span big spaces and have big conflict. And when we have, they've been really bad.
Yeah.
So Torchwood season 3, whatever the season is, where they did 2 seasons of Torchwood that were like long form stories, where it was like an 8-part episode, but it went for like, and the ideas were really good, but the execution was pretty all over the place.
Yeah.
One of them, which was really cool and interesting, was where everyone on Earth stopped dying.
Cool.
And it was like crazy. It was a really cool idea, but it kind of fell apart as it went on because it got too complicated, too unwieldy. Because these people were in China and they were in Cardiff and he couldn't, and they were in America and he just couldn't. So what I think's happened is people have seen his previous writing and gone, dude can't handle location.
But I mean,
but you can write stories in a bottle anywhere.
Yeah, like Doctor Who is always like Doctor Who has scope, but most of the good episodes are fairly, they're tight within. They tell a singular
Solving
story,
a problem.
and they don't, and only really like the bad episodes do they kind of spread across.
Like most of Moffat's.
Yeah, so you like the episode with the like the mimic where he's in the diamond planet.
Midnight.
Yeah, that one where it's like that's very that's otherworldly, that's in a wild situation, but
it's a box.
It plays a tight story.
They did that episode. Fun fact: they did that episode because they ran out of money on the season and they couldn't afford any more
set.
Yeah.
But it's
but again, you're totally right. That's one of the best episodes of the show.
But I think that criticism, or I'm not sure criticism or your perspective. What I think is that. Even just the ending of this episode, the fact that he's willing to just throw them into deep space, just straight off the bat, kind of pushes itself a bit to like. We'll see what happens. Like I think the big tell will be what happens at the start of the next episode. Are they picked up by an alien spaceship that just happened to be flying by, and then they have some bombastic adventure where she still doesn't get the TARDIS, or maybe she gets the TARDIS at the end of that episode, or is it just they go back to Earth and then the story starts? Like. And I think, like, it could go either way, but it's like, one of those ways is the better way, and it doesn't, and I don't think it has that problem. I mean, again, I haven't seen Torchwood, but...
Torchwood's very,
I think anything, he's put himself in a situation where he either rises to the plate, that's a good thing, because then he succeeds and does really well, or we just have a bit of a shit season, It's
which we've been doing for 3 years, so it's not like I'm worried about it getting worse.
Yeah.
Like, that seems unfair.
I mean, regardless of anything, it will be different because new companions, new Doctor, new showrunner. Like it's going to be different.
Should we talk about before we wrap up? Should we talk about the companions because I think they are so well written, but not overwritten. So like going for 3 is interesting. We've seen it before. Like it's been done many times.
Yeah, we've seen the person, friend, and dad.
But in this case,
it's been done.
But in this case, what's interesting, and I made a note of this. Where did I have it?
I'm surprised that the dad is coming along for the ride for one.
Well, that was interesting to me because it's usually just him with a harem of women. But I guess it makes sense from a stacking perspective if you're writing a script.
Well, I mean, Rory and...
Well, that's different because Rory died and was non-existent for a while. That I don't count because Moffat lost his mind with that one.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
I think of things like what's his face? Rose and Captain Jack. Like that was a great combo where they
Or Rose and Rose's boyfriend.
Mickey
yeah.
Smith. Although what I like
Again,
about
that was a bit different though.
yeah, a bit different, but like again, like they all have these kind of unique dynamics. What I like about this is these characters. My camera stopped working. Oh no, I'm good. It like completely froze. What I like about these characters is they all have pre-existing relationships outside of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Previously, what had happened typically is someone had a boyfriend. So like Rose had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
That was the relationship.
That was
But this is more complicated. This is friend from high school.
Who's
dead,
also a cop.
Who's also a cop. Dead mom's ex-husband. Like dead mom's husband. Like there is.
You don't really have a good relationship with. I
Yeah.
can expect to see that one improve.
And I'm looking forward to that tension
Yeah.
because I have you know me. I love a good
And-
sad dad.
Probably for the first time, the primary companion being male. You think about it.
Why we don't know if Ryan or Yasmin is going to be the
I mean, given the opening and closing of this episode and the fact that it was his mum that died,
potentially.
and it's his sort of stepdad.
Oh
dad
yeah,
kind of situation.
he was at least.
He's gonna be the center of some conflict.
I think what they're going to do is use. This is just my theory. If I was writing the show, each episode would have a different protagonist. So of the three, so this one was Ryan's episode because his grandma died. The next one could be. Graham
Well, I mean,
or,
I
like,
guess
whatever.
if they're also, I mean, generally it's always been a case of male doctor, female
Yeah, the
companion,
companion's always been the
companion.
protagonist,
So I guess now they're just flipping it
Yeah.
on both sides.
Which is fun, and
Which
but
makes sense.
I also like that the representation in this didn't feel. It felt very natural to cast the kind of people they did in this in Sheffield because that's how people in real life look, and that's what people look like everywhere. And it wasn't until the end of the show when Mum like turned to me and she went, "Man, that looked like real people," and I went, "Oh, I didn't even notice it," but it
Yeah,
did.
even like the credit roll at the end when they sort of showed all of the main characters that are going to be in all the episodes. It was just like, oh, there's just actual human beings. It's not just the same white guy over and over.
It's not the same 5 British actors that
Yeah.
seem to always be working. Yeah, which I liked. We do have to wrap this up, but do you have any like takeaway thoughts for this or any like hopes for the season?
It's probably going to be the first time I'm actually going to watch.
Oh yeah,
like,
this will be the
Doctor
first one
Who
you keep
sort
up
of,
with.
like keep up with.
Yeah, I'm
It's
excited
probably-
to maybe
I'm actually
in
gonna watch it
the coming
weekly.
post shows we might talk about it
talk
each
about
week.
the weekly Doctor Who.
Oh, that could be fun.
because
We
they're
haven't-
weekly. Yeah,
We haven't done that with any show,
we've done it with like Rick and Morty, like season 2. I think it was the only
but
one.
we didn't
did
do
it
it
with.
we didn't do it weekly.
We didn't do it. We did like every now and then. We'd be like,
we'd
how
touch
about
it.
that Rick and Morty?
How about that, Rick and Morty? And then you'd complain, and then I'd be like, yeah, the fans are the worst.
Yeah.
God damn it, we almost went in a whole episode without talking about Rick and Morty. You ruined it! You ruined
I
it!
didn't
We're
even do
wrapping
that
up, you son of a bitch! You son of a bitch. But it's that time of the week. Do you have any fucking recommendations?
No.
What have you been playing and watching and listening to? I don't know why I yelled that at you, but it felt like the right thing to do.
We
feeling
bought
the energy.
Mario Party, Super Mario Party on the Switch, and it's
Yeah.
ruined our friendship.
It's me, Mario.
It's ruined me and Laura's
Oh,
relationship.
that's good. Yeah.
I destroyed her.
You just throttle at everything?
I was
Yeah.
wrecked.
Yeah.
It was great.
Oh, you're really good at games. That's not
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. I've been doing the new Assassin's Creed, which we'll talk about a bit in the post show because I have some stuff I want to run by you. I highly recommend it. If you even passingly thought Origins was cool, this game will blow your socks off. It is pretty sensational.
Is it grindy? I've heard that it's kind of grindy.
It's
'cause of the
basically
microtransactions.
kinda. I mean, I haven't really got to a point where it stopped me before.
Right.
Like I've only played like 4 hours.
Mm.
But it's
That's
just
pretty
it's like it basically plays like Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Cool.
So I'm well into it.
Are you playing as a female character?
Yeah.
As the character?
Because it's got
yeah.
the better fucking voice
Yeah.
actor. So
Oh,
I was
yeah,
like, hell yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely recommend it. But we'll talk about I've got a few other things I've been watching that we'll talk about in the post show. But otherwise, if people wanted to support us, where could they find us on the internet?
Facebook,
At DCMWorks Social.
YouTube,
YouTube.com/DCMWorks.
Twitter,
At DCM_works.
Patreon.
Patreon.com/DCMworks. If you want to see this live, you can subscribe to us on YouTube and you get a notification to say, hey, these boys are doing that podcast you like. I would recommend using the bell icon though, because YouTube's a fucking...
Smash that motherfucking bell icon.
No, I don't even know if the bell works anymore, though.
Smash that like button, subscribe, and
I don't know, man.
join the notification squad.
I don't even know if the bell even works, man. YouTube be on that Wild West shit again, so I don't know. But yeah, you can check us out live, and that way you can see the post show. The only way to see the post show is either if you see it live or if you're a Patreon. Our Patreon if you subscribe for $3 a month, you get access to all our post shows, plus exclusive behind the scenes content, all kinds of other stuff we've been doing. Everyone just should be getting access tomorrow. I think it goes live tomorrow to the next episode of Interface. I scheduled it. I don't remember when for, but it's coming out. It's pretty crazy. We haven't recorded one in a while, so we're going to get to that sometime in the next few weeks. So keep an eye out for that. And then when that's done, which we're about 10 episodes out from.
Yeah, we're a while away.
Then
we're only just past halfway.
We're probably going to remaster it and then sell it separately if you just wanted to buy it as its own thing. So you could do that as well. But patreon.com/DCMworks is the best place to support us. And we just treat it like a subscription service. You get extra content. That's all. And it helps us do this stuff, which we do for some reason. And maybe I'll buy a USB extension cable if I can ever take a day off work. So you can go to all those places to check us out. Otherwise, if you want to follow us, follow us. If you want to follow us individually, I'm at DCM I Hate Pie.
I'm at Little Citrus.
We'll see you guys next week. You do a better finger gun than I do.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I think you got bigger fingers.
Bigger hand sausages, man.